Hello, everyone. Welcome to Satsang with G on live stream, and we're here in Las Vegas, Nevada, Henderson to be exact, in a live setting in person with real flesh and blood people here. So people are still arriving here, so it'll be a little bit delayed. I know I'm normally very punctual, but you'll forgive me. I still will be taking questions and the like, as always. So by all means, I'm trying to bring it up over here now. There it is. So I can make sure the same rules apply. There's the chat. Good. So do type into the chat your name and where you're viewing from. I always love to see that because you guys are all over the world. And let's see if the percentage. Most of the time, the percentage is out of the United States. And let's see if we continue with our record for that. This way, I guess. Yeah, that's better. Your mic seems soft. Yes. It might not be as loud as normal, simply because there's quite a setup here. I don't actually have a mic on me because I'm traveling and I don't have all the equipment that I normally have. So if you would just bear with me and turn your speakers up all the way, and you should be able to hear me okay. If it really gets bad, let me know and I'll just bring this closer, but I don't think anybody wants that much of a close-up of my face. No, I don't. Hi from Holland. Hello. Morosikus, I guess, right? You may want to speak up a bit more. It's pretty soft. How about now? Is that okay? Shanika says, hi, G. Lovely to see you again. Hi, Shanika. Where are you again? I forgot. Anne, I think you're in North Carolina. Here's Pretty Cat from Poland. Yeah. There's actually quite a few people that come from Slovenia and Slovakia. And some from Syria, India. Even got a couple questions about Islam. But, I don't know that much about it. Shanika is in England. Namaste from Israel. Hello, Patam. Nice to have you. Beautiful day to all from Louisiana, which is East Omahamasi. Which doesn't look like you'd be from Louisiana. Robert from Southern Nevada, right up here. Chrissy from New Zealand. Yeah, it's great to be live. I know I wasn't last week because of a bunch of other stuff that was going on. So we're just going to hang out here for a little bit before we get started. While I wait for a few more folks. Oh, we got a good group. So just be a little bit patient, but keep telling me where you're from because it's cool. Aaron from Kentucky. Oh, another. Shmuel Cohen from another one. One more from Israel. That's great. What?
Israel?
Two from Israel, yeah.
Well, all right then.
Yeah, Barbara from Sweden. Sound is very soft, Patricia says, and I have fun at full volume. Patricia from Austin. Not quite sure what I can do about that because I'm just having to use the phone on the iPad. I will move it closer. You know, it won't be not be good. Look, you may see my nose here, but after I do the meditation I wanted to open with. So, greetings from Norway, from Vess, Infinite Coaching. This is Sad from Paris, checking in. Sandpoint, Idaho. Lovely. It's so much fun to watch you from all over the place. The positive side to the internet. Well, there was one. I'm gonna just play a little bit here.
Yeah, no, start with that.
You guys have not seen this, my new toy, and I just got this a few days ago. This is only the second time I've used it, and I mean I have played percussion all my life, so it's not like it was totally foreign, but I don't really know it all that knowledge yet. But it makes for a really nice atmosphere. decided to start Satsang today with a little meditation. So watch out, just close your eyes. See if I can accompany. And you as well, up there on Facebook, or Facebook, sorry. The enemy. YouTube doesn't like Facebook in a language. We have about 50 people here so far on the live. So unlike normally in Satsang, I might do a little discourse and then just start taking questions. I'm going to be just all in a little guided meditation. I'm going to try to play and speak at the same time. Only the second time I've done it, so if I fail miserably, you will all forgive me. So, as you're listening to the sound, just let your mind do whatever minds do. Put all of your attention on your body and how it feels. Just how it feels. And as you do that, the mind will start to speak. That's its nature. That's what it does. It describes, it compares, it analyzes, it remembers. Just let it do whatever it's going to do. But keep your attention on how you're feeling. It might be comfortable or uncomfortable, but just say yes to it. I'm not here to change anything, fix anything, transcend anything. Just be the pure presence that you actually are. Just be that which was here before any sensation arose, before any thought arose, before any emotion arose. You had to be here first. This is what I call the yoga of allowing. Simply being with whatever happens to be here in this moment. No argument with right now. In fact, is there anything wrong with right now if you don't think about it? You're just present. You're just here with your body. Just noticing. It's actually quite a rare treat. We're normally so active, so busy, so trying to change things, make things better. Most of us don't like our bodies. We have lots of judgments. If those come up, just say, thank you. I do right now. Put your attention completely on the feeling. And if there's some kind of discomfort or some kind of anything wrong, anxiousness, tension in the body, just say, okay, be there. It's all right. Just be present. It's a gift, because we are so usually engaged in self-criticism, that just actually being present with what's here in the moment is a beautiful gift. don't normally do it. This is actually the key to self-acceptance. Most of us, self-acceptance means when I'm good enough, I'll accept myself. I'm just kind of inviting you to do it right now, just as you are, warts and all. All the things that normally you don't like, say yes. The things you resist, just say yes. As you do that, just notice what happens inside. It takes two to create a conflict. If you drop your side of it, there's no more arguments. The word for that is peace. It's that simple. Self-acceptance and unconditional love. That's all there is to it. It's not a great mystery. It's not a great accomplishment. It's not the heavens parting the earth singing. It's just that. Just saying yes to whatever's happening in the moment. Inside. Where you are. Notice how the whole body starts to respond to that. The whole body starts to relax. Yeah, there may still be some discomfort there. Let's really sink into that stillness, that quiet. Yeah, your mind, there may be some activity going on in your mind. You may have lots of things to say. This is something you normally do. But that's okay. Just notice the mind wants to kind of go off on its story, and you see that and just say, thank you, could I meet you right now? And just stay here, stay present. As we get ready to come back, just going to ask deep inside of your heart, what is the deepest question that I have? Existential question, the important question. Not domestic questions, not how to get along better, how to make my kids better, how to make more money. Those are all great, those are all important. But this is a special time dedicated to the deepest questions. Take a deep breath. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Yeah, I am. I moved the everybody on Facebook, or I keep saying that because I did a Facebook Live before I started this. Yeah, I moved this thing as close really as I can get it without, actually just having nothing but my face in the picture, and hopefully you can hear better. Unfortunately, I'm just using the iPad, so you guys won't be able to hear as well. So the audio might be a bit soft. Everybody can hear me fine. Yeah, the room has nice acoustics to it. Beth says, where did you get that instrument? It's amazing. It's called Gouda drum. It's from a place called Zen Percussion. It's in the Ukraine. They're all made to order, handmade. It's called you call it a hand pan. They're called hang drums. They're called groove drums. But yeah, they're pretty cool. I heard it and said, I think I need to get one of those. Michael in Los Angeles. Oops. Oh, that's right. I'm not American. I forgot. So, come on in, sit down. But he's trying to be so quiet during the meditation. What? I don't have the adapter. This is the lightning connecting up there. It doesn't have that.
Yes, it does.
Does? Is that a microphone?
There's a microphone right here. Those are the earbuds. You need to
Just set it
put
there.
one in here.
Can you guys hear me better now? Check on my YouTube dudes. Can you hear me better now? It actually takes up to 10 seconds for them to hear what I just said.
I see that. That's right.
Yeah, it takes a minute. Yeah. So hopefully that's better. Yes, much better. Good. All right, I will wire something up next time for sure. What?
Brilliant idea to move the computer over here so you're looking in at the same time and then so you're not back and forth.
Well, the only reason I did that is because I'm just gonna leave it like this. Yeah. Thank you for the, no, it actually, your idea would have been 100% correct, much better, but it gets kind of crowded and stuff, so. Thank you all for coming to Satsang today. Thank you all for being here. We have quite a few people. Usually by the end of it, it'll get up to like 100, 120 people, as you all heard from all around the world. Any of you ever been to a satsang before? Have any idea what it is? You have. Yeah. He's unforgettable. I couldn't possibly forget Reggie. He's an unforgettable character. Satsang, as I was saying during the meditation, it's a very ancient tradition, thousands of years old from the Hindu tradition. And it would, this is the way the spiritual teacher would, just answer questions. People would come to basically explore the deepest questions, the stuff that we don't normally think of during the week. We're all so busy surviving, right? Making ends meet, taking care of business, doing what we have to do. We think of asking the deep questions about who am I and what it's about and all of that. We think of that as a luxury, right? And I don't. I think of it as an absolute necessity, because how you view yourself determines the entire character of your everyday life. You don't know that. We're not aware of that. We think stuff is just happening. But stuff is just happening, but how you experience it, whether it be wonderful or sucks, is completely based on your own perspective. What happens and your perception of what happens are usually two different things. We do not experience what's actually happening. We only experience our perception of it, which would mean it's kind of important to question our perceptions. Are they actually true? Questioning our assumptions. And so in satsang, it's a very, sat, it's a Sanskrit word, and it means communion with the truth. Sat is truth in Sanskrit, and sang means communion or community. You probably heard the word sangha, which is a Buddhism, kind of the equivalent of a Christian church. It's the community fellowship of the like. But it's a fellowship around truth. But truth isn't something that somebody can tell you. If somebody does tell you that they're going to tell you the truth, run. Don't walk in the other direction as soon as you possibly can. Because they're just about to give you a bunch of theories that are going to, if they have any benefit whatsoever, it'll be very short-lived and you'll eventually be disappointed. Truth, happiness, joy, fun, all has to be discovered inside. If it isn't, you don't find it at all. And that's the problem. This is the problem we experience in the world. We are always looking for happiness outside. Our entire culture looks for happiness outside. If we all found the happiness inside, our economy would collapse. Satisfied people don't buy crap they don't need. Simple as that. Happy people don't really care whether they got the really big screen TV or just a medium screen TV. They don't care. Matter of fact, they might not even watch the damn thing. I think the last time I owned a TV was 1994. Wow. It was sitting there, and after 2 years, I realized I hadn't turned it on. So I gave it away, and I haven't had one since. Yeah. There's a satisfaction in spiritual inquiry begins to emerge and transforms everything. Transforms the sense of self, the sense of identity, how you interact with others, how you react to others, how imperturbable you come. People just, nothing simply bothers you. The very great sage Krishnamurti of the 20th century, one of the biggest figures in spirituality in the 20th century, maybe some of you knew who he was. I had the great honor of being invited to lead a retreat at the Krishnamurti Center in Canada, which was like, whoa. I mean, this guy's like huge. He was asked, what's your secret? And he said, simple, I don't mind what happens. That's an easy one to write on the back of your forehead. I don't mind what happens. How many of you can say, I don't mind what happens? For those of you on YouTube, nobody raised their hand. Because we defend ourselves, right? We have this resistance to it. We think things are supposed to go in the way that we think they're supposed to go, and when they don't, we just kind of like dig in. Something must be wrong. We push back. That pushing, that defending, or that offending, is the essence of all human suffering. It's this central inner conflict that creates our suffering. Maybe some of you noticed that during the meditation I asked a question. A lot of times people they don't actually hear that. I said, is there anything wrong with right now if you don't think about it? Now, it's not just a clever little, mind puzzle, for the Sunday paper. Right? Where's the source of all our problems? Is life a problem? Only if you think it is. So where's the problem? Here. It's all in our perception of it. Oops. Scroll a bit. Good. So, as always, YouTubers, you can just type your question in on the chat, and I'll pick it up and answer it. Don't be shy. You guys usually aren't. And if anybody else has any questions. The main thrust of this is not for me to just sit up and tell you a bunch of stuff. The only thing I can do is point you towards your own truth. That's all I can do. Right? Anybody who says they can do more than that is lying, is self-deceived. That's what a teacher is supposed to do, right? To just kind of like walk with you in your own self-discovery. It's a huge, I think, diminishment of human nature and our human freedom and our freedom of choice and character to be taught, to be told something. Right? We should be invited to discover for ourselves. Anything I take on of somebody else and believe it, I suddenly become responsible for it, right? No matter how much authority a person might have, how cool, how important, how long they've been around the block, whatever they say to you, they don't have to live with it, you do. So whatever you take in, you really need to examine. We need to be really watching who we let in the door. We need to be bouncers in our own minds. So, did anybody bring any questions with them? Did they come with some questions in mind that you already had? You guys are really quiet today on YouTube. I usually have about 10 questions by now. Other than where did you get the instrument? Because this is what it's for you. I mean, you probably haven't had much of an opportunity where somebody sat down and go, what's the deepest question in your heart? They don't ask you that on job interviews.
Where'd you go to school? What'd you do before? What's your salary requirements? Nobody ever goes, yeah, but who are you? What do you care about? What matters? Right? Who are you? What problems are you facing right now that you think are out there? Yeah. I invite you to bring them. Don't be shy. Yeah. You really don't want me to just go off and talk forever. You don't. Oh, Aaron says, since all is well on some level, whether I wake up or not, what suggestions do you have for becoming committed rather than just ducking in and out of the process? Is that familiar to anybody? Yes, everything is absolutely okay whether you know it or not. But if you don't know it, you don't experience it. You have to truly understand that all is well and why in order for you to experience it. The truth is the truth, right? There's nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can't change it. You can't, I mean, it's eternal, it's everywhere. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And it's true right now. The truth of you, your enormous beauty, your magnificence, your original innocence, your peace, your happiness, are all true right now. So why don't you experience them right now? The key here is that we experience according to our beliefs and our perceptions, not according to what's true. And so whatever you believe to be true, you will experience it as if it were true, whether it is or not. And the only way to experience the truth is to know it. So yes, it is true that all is well. I gave a hint when I asked that question. I said, is there anything wrong with right now if you don't think about it? Now, are we all experiencing right now? Anybody not now? Anybody not here? Right? Of course. So, right in this moment, take away all your thoughts about this moment. Everything you think, all the expectations, what are we doing here? Why is it so quiet? What's he saying? I don't understand. Anything. Or, God, did I leave the iron on? What's my kids doing when I'm not there? Anything that you're thinking about, right? If all of that gets put aside, is there anything wrong? Welcome to heaven. That's all there is to it. You know? That which is absolutely here. What's absolutely here has no problems. Right? And you can see it just by stopping for a second and notice that without your thought about this moment, there's nothing wrong with it. Thoughts have to intrude in order for this moment to be anything other than just utterly beautiful, perfect, elegant, fun, interesting. But then thought says, yeah, but, you know, I could use some more money. We need some more money. We should be thinking about getting more money. Right? Now, without that thought, do you need more money? And I really want you to think about this because it's so subtle. Because we really have come to believe that our thoughts about things are the actual things. We don't realize that the story we have about the thing has nothing to do with the thing. You all have some kind of a sensation in your body right now. You can feel the bottoms of your feet, right? It's just a neutral sensation. Just put your attention on the bottoms of your feet and just feel that kind of buzz on the bottoms of your feet. It's just there, right? There's just this sensation. Now, what would happen if I told you that that buzz in your feet means you probably have something wrong? Maybe you're developing a cleft foot or something. Right? Now, what happens if you believe that? That sensation, which is always there, sometimes you notice it, sometimes you don't, suddenly has a story about it, doesn't it? Every time you feel the sensation, the story gets triggered, if you believe it. So all of a sudden, what in fact is an absolutely neutral sensation going on in the body suddenly has fear attached to it, concern, worry, self-doubt. Oh, I really need to have this looked at. I gotta go to a foot specialist. Oh, first I have to see my primary care provider. Then I can go to the with my copay. Everything works like that. Everything works like that. Somebody can, make a mistake. You can be in second grade, having to read something in front of the class. You make a mistake, the class laughs, and from that moment on, speaking in public is associated with being humiliated. And fear of public speaking is actually is people are more afraid of public speaking than dying. That's true. Why? There was an association that got made. That's it. You remove the association and you're absolutely comfortable. Right? Now, that's not going to make you a great speaker. You still have to learn how to do learn how to do the job, but you won't be afraid to stand up and speak your mind in a group of people. But that's how it works. It's very natural. It's perfectly natural for that nervous system to want to protect you. And the way to protect you is, well, just never let them be on stage. If I never let them be on stage, they're protected, right? Problem solved, except that you want to be on the stage. There may be a time when you really want to. You can't get ahead in business unless you can give a presentation. Even if you're not a salesperson, you've got, if you're on a project, you've got to pitch your ideas, and there's just no way to get through life without giving some kind of presentation. It wouldn't be nice to do a presentation without hyperventilating. This is how it works. And when you understand how it works, you become the master of it. Instead of simply beating yourself up and just say, I'm afraid of public speaking, and then hiding, right? You recognize that there's a chain of causation there that made it happen. That it's not native to you. Have you ever met a little kid who was afraid of speaking? They'll talk about anything, anywhere, Are they inhibited? They'll scream in Costco at the top of their lungs. No problem. Oh, people are watching. So? Somewhere along the line, something happened that made the point, brought home the lesson that was a dangerous thing to do. And what happens? Whenever there's danger, what do we feel? Fear. So what you're actually feeling when you're a fear of public speaking is you are feeling the fear of being humiliated. And of course, if you don't stand up there's no risk of it. But there's our central conflict, because we want the freedom of expression, but inside there's this other element that's saying, no way is that going to happen. This is the essential conflict. And believe me, this is the cause of all suffering. Every bit of suffering you are experiencing in your life is this conflict between safety and freedom. You may think, oh, I've got this issue with my partner or my boss or something, but it isn't that. That is the presenting symptom. That is not the cause. Did that answer your, whoops, where'd it go? Did I answer your question? Oh, he wanted to know, how do you get committed? I take kind of a different approach. As a spiritual teacher, I'm not one who rags on people about being disciplined about your practice, because I know full well that if you don't like what you're doing, you're not going to do it. This is why these satsangs are arranged like this. I want you to fall in love with the pursuit of truth. If you, I mean, does anybody, when you're in love with somebody, do you actually have to discipline yourself, set an alarm or something to think about them? Do you have to like, you have to go like, oh God, I gotta go see him again. It's 5 o'clock. Let's see what I get done. It's like, whoa, you can't wait. You can't wait. The same, you know, I fell in love with music as a kid. I just could not get enough. When I was in college, I was literally at the college like 12 to 14 hours a day between studying, learning music theory, and 8 hours of practice. I could not get enough of it. Nobody had to discipline me to do that, right? If you have to use discipline, you don't know what you're doing. You do not get it. So I don't want to make you committed to the process. I want you to taste truth and get an appetite for the pursuit of truth so that you don't need commitment. It just happens. You know, a committed relationship, if it's obligatory, you know, like medieval marriages, is unstable to say the least. Commitment is something that happens because it's not a discipline. It's I don't want to go anywhere else. Then you don't have to worry about it, right? So, does that answer your question there, Aaron? Go ahead and keep ducking in and out of the process. And just notice that you're doing it. If you force it, oh man, you're screwed. I've not done this ever before. This is the very first time I've had people here and questions here, and I'm a little confused. But questions. I've got these guys will keep me here for 2 hours, right? so I definitely want to hear from you guys as well. Go ahead, Reggie.
What is your opinion of universal law?
What is my opinion of universal law? What do you mean by my opinion? I like it. I think it's great.
No, I mean, Ernest Holmes has an opinion.
Uh-huh. Thanks.
Most people's opinion is cause and effect.
Uh-huh.
I was just wanting to know where do you come from when it comes to universal law?
Ah. When you look at, the question was about about universal law, and Reggie made the comment talking about cause and effect and all that sort of thing. Okay, this is Satsang, so I'm just going to go right for the jugular. I'm going to go for as deep as I can possibly go. There are many levels of perception of how we perceive law. Right? What is a law? A law is we call something a law that happens the same way every single time. It does that over lifetimes long enough we think, okay, it's always going to happen that way, at least within the context of what we could possibly measure. Maybe it won't be that way in 1 billion years, but right now pretty much that's the way it operates. That's what they call a law. It is simply the way in which things happen to function consistently, and our mind likes that. We call that a law because we want to feel stable. We want to feel safe. We can trust it. Gravity. It will fall, right? Good. I know where I stand. The foundation of everything we call law arises out of our sense of who we are and the nature of life in the universe. You cannot create a law based on something, on a way of seeing, on a different way of seeing things than the way you do. Right? So we see the law, we see the universe as being something external to us that is being governed by various kinds of laws that are inherent in them. Now, if you knew Buddha, he would say that's not true. That there is no inherent laws. That it is all a matter of perception. And that what we experience as law is a projection of the mind. Very different way of looking at it, isn't it? What we call material laws are in fact conventions of thought. And they are not inherent. There are no material laws. The universe does not obey universal law. The only universal law there is the universal law of the self. The discovery of the self is to discover the nature of mind. To discover the nature of mind, you realize that everything you experience is a projection of your mind. If it's all a projection of your mind, then nothing out here is absolute. Nothing. That's what Buddha meant when he said there is no self. He wasn't talking about you didn't exist. He was saying nothing has inherent existence. A good example is green, right? There's more green, we have brown, we have red, right? We have these colors. We say, that's a red cushion. No, it's not. That cushion has no color. Light has color. What we are seeing is light. So we say, but we're so, by convention, we say, oh, that's a red cushion. Like, as if red was an attribute of that cushion. It's not. It's an attribute of light. If red was an attribute of that cushion, you could turn out all the lights and it would still be red. But if you turn out the lights, it's not red anymore, is it? Turn on a different color light, it will be a different color because it is an attribute of light, not of the object. Everything you experience in your life is an attribute of consciousness, not the thing. You are looking at yourself. The universe is your mirror. Am I going too far, too fast? Good, good. Some people, what? Huh? No, because it's 180 degree, right? This is not how we normally perceive things. There's me here, there's the world out there. The world is, this is what it's like. And of course, classical analysis in science, the reductionist, materialistic approach to science, you just take it apart and that's how we find out what it is. The idea that it doesn't have any inherent qualities except the ones we give it, that we attribute to it, is completely outside of any kind of conversation, except in satsang, because that's where we're supposed to talk about it. But that is Buddhism, by the way. You want to know the essence of Buddhism? That's it. There's nothing inherent whatsoever. Let me give you another example. Right? I'm 5'7", right? So put me in the middle of a bunch of basketball players, and I'm a shrimp. I'm short, really short, right? Put me in with a bunch of pygmies, and I'm a giant. So am I tall or am I short? We want to say you're inherently short, right? And if everybody around me was taller than 5'7", then I would be short. But would I be short? What am I? I'm neither short nor tall. Right? It's only when I compare it to something else that those attributes begin to appear. So Buddha called this dependent arising. You define everything in terms of something else. Am I smart or dumb? Depends on who I'm standing next to. Am I handsome or am I homely? That's why when you're young, you always hang out with people who are uglier than you. You're the handsome one in the crowd. Hey. Because there's nothing inherent. And now this blows the mind, because our minds want something solid that it can hold on to. I am this. But every time you look at it, you find that, well, I'm not actually this. I'm only this in comparison to that. Which begs the question. This is the question I keep wanting to bring us back to. What then am I? Without any associations, without anything else added on, without standing next to anybody, what am I? The reason this kind of spins the head a bit is because your mind cannot grasp it. The mind can only grasp objects. Oh, male, female, got it, good. But if you take all of that away, if this room was nothing but women and that's all you knew, what would male mean? Nothing. It would have no meaning whatsoever. Female would then have no meaning. Right? It's only in relationship to somebody else. So are you male or female? Neither. Now, this is significant because all of our self-perception is based on these comparisons we've made about ourselves. You'll go through your entire life thinking, I'm not very smart, simply because you were in some circumstances where you weren't the smartest, you weren't the brightest bulb in the room, or some particular subject was more difficult than other subjects. All of a sudden, what in fact is just a temporary thing that happened in the moment becomes a permanent condition that you take on as yourself. And now all of a sudden, I'm not a very good speaker. I'm not very athletic. I'm not very good with money. I'm not very creative. All of those are faults. We take them on as true. We don't even bother questioning them. We act them out as if they're true, and guess what? We experience them as if they're true. You getting it? And I'm so glad. This is, as I said, satsang is not for the practical questions, like how do I make more money and get a new car? This is about these kinds of questions. I do other classes for how to get money and have a new car and all that sort of stuff. It's a completely different. There's nothing wrong with any of that stuff. And Patty here is actually working on a course that she's invited me to help participate in that. But that's not where we want. That's not spiritual seeking. That's not spiritual inquiry. It's practical. It's great. It's wonderful. But it's not where it doesn't answer the deeper questions that are going to satisfy you forever. Because every desire fulfilled will be followed by another desire to fulfill. That is the nature of life. There's no way around that. So to transcend that means that you don't really care whether your desires are fulfilled or not. Which, oddly enough, is when they all get fulfilled.
But what is the meaning of life? Why am I here?
So, we get with a little enthusiasm. I know you guys can't hear all the questions, so I'll repeat it. I repeat the question. So, what is the meaning of life? I'm trying to do it with his level of energy. Why am I here? Right. I refuse to answer that question. Not because I can't, but because if I do, your mind will jump on it and it'll become a new theory. I invite you to seriously ask that question of yourself. Why am I here? Now, I'll tell you something. Here's a little secret. You can't answer that question until you first know who you are. See, if I assume that I'm just, this bubbling idiot over here, the answer to the question, why am I here, is, well, why is this bubbling idiot here, right? But if that's how you see yourself, that's the answer you're going to get, and you go, well, this sucks. I don't want that. So first, you have to know who you are. We don't ever think about that. You say, God, I really want a new house, right? Everybody knows what a house is, right? So you can say, oh yeah, a house. Everybody knows what want is, right? So and all the emphasis is on, I want the house. How do I get the house? What about the house? But there's three parts there. Nobody ever asks, okay, well, who's the I that wants the house? You say it with such confidence, right? I want that house. Absolute assuredness. Then you ask, well, but who are you? And you go, huh? We don't know how to answer that question. The answer to that question, who am I, should be as obvious as the house. How can you possibly know what you want if you don't know who you are? So, let me put it, what's my purpose? Why am I here? Right? If I want to give, it's not philosophical. Why I'm here? To do this. When this is over, why will I be here? To help Tracy clean up. That will be my mission. That will be my purpose, right? Purpose isn't like this, oh, I've got my purpose now, right? In this great overarching thing and how I fit into the great puzzle of life, right? No, it's this. What's your purpose in life? To sit here and have this conversation with me. That's why you're here. It's that simple. If we think it's a fixed thing, then we're going to be looking for the big magic purpose in the sky. But do we see what is the purpose of life? To live, to inquire, to create, to wonder, to admire, to be in awe, to be in wonder, to look at beautiful, oh my God, so beautiful, so wonderful, to just have that experience. Now the mind wants to come along and say, well, that was really good. It wants to put it in a context, put it in a box, and put it off somewhere so you can save it for later, in which case the moment's actually gone, right? Think about it. You're walking through the park, right? Springtime, all of a sudden there's flowers in bloom that you hadn't seen before. All of a sudden you just kind of, you're stopped in your tracks, right? Ah, everything stops. There's just this pure experience of beauty, right? And then a little bit later it's like, gee, that's really beautiful. Wow, I wonder what kind of flower that is. It looks like maybe a geranium, maybe a petunia. You know, I think they have those on sale down at Whole Foods. I really need to get some more. You're not there anymore. You're gone. You're not with the flower. You're in all of your thoughts about flowers. This is how we live our life. What's the purpose of the flower? And do you think it spends a lot of time wondering? I mean, it's a great, it's a stunningly remarkable gift that we have this capacity to actually self-ponder. We're the only ones that have that, as far as we can tell. We can actually become aware of ourselves being aware. I'm aware that I'm aware of this flower. I'm aware that my mind is now suddenly off creating some kind of ongoing narrative about the flower, which means that I'm nowhere near the flower anymore. You know, it's kind of like watching a YouTube video on the Great Wall of China or standing on it. But most of the time, we're watching the YouTube video. No offense, YouTube. Thank you for coming, John. Yeah. Yes.
How do you live with anxiety?
The question is, how do you live with anxiety? I don't. I let go of anxiety. Okay? The question assumes that anxiety always has to be there and that I got to learn how to cope with it. Congratulations, you're qualified to be a psychiatrist. Sorry, any psychiatrists listening, I'm terribly sorry about my psychiatrist joke. But yeah, I don't. Are you having anxiety right this second?
Not at the moment, but that's my biggest thing in life.
Right. Notice that when anxiety comes up, and what is anxiety? It's simply a low-grade fear. It's a low-grade fear because you're not really in danger in the moment. Your mind is now thinking about something that might be a danger in the future, right? That's anxiety. It's always an anticipation of what might happen, right? Because right in the moment, nothing's actually happening. There is no threat in the moment. Now, if you're a dog or a cat or a cockroach, that's not a problem. They don't think about what might happen. They're completely and totally present right here and right now. So they're not anticipating, oh God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if I don't have the, before you know it, this little ugly little voices going on in your head to that voice. But your nervous system is always in the now, right? So if your focus of attention is on something really bad, your nervous system is going to act as if it was actually happening, and so you're going to feel the sense of fear, even though what you're afraid of is totally imaginary. It's completely within your mind. Now, some schools of thought would say, well, then you have to get rid of those thoughts, right? Anybody ever tried to do that? How well did that work? That is a guaranteed failure. Yeah, yeah. It gets worse. Yeah, because it quite literally feeds on that energy. I'm pushing this back a little bit so I'm not, because they can hear me now. This is as far as I can go, though. I am tethered. I'm sorry I'm not looking at you guys so much. I still love you. What I recommend you do, the next time you feel the anxiety, notice that the feeling anxiety, the feeling of fear, remember the feeling of fear is physiologically your body preparing to run away. It is the feeling, the word we associate with the feeling of the body going into flight mode. Right? When your body's threatened, it's going to run or it's going to fight. Most of the time, it's going to run. Evolution has proven that the one who runs away is much more likely to survive than the one who fights. So every critter on the planet chooses running as its first option. It doesn't fight until it's backed into a corner. So that feeling is one of, I got to get away from that. And that's what the intensity, and that's the inner struggle. How do you get away from something that isn't there? How do you get away from something that's imaginary? If there's a bear standing there, I can get my ass out of Dodge. I can run, right? And I'll get to a certain point and I went, whew, and I'll calm down. No more danger. That's real. It's right here. It's right happening right now. But if it's in your head, if it's just this repeating pattern in your head, you can't get rid of it. You can't solve it. Every anticipated thing that could go wrong is is in complete contrast to the nature of the nervous system for its fight or flight. You can't fight it, there's nothing there, and you can't run away from it because it's in your head. Which means what happens is the third option, which is freeze, which is what we refer to as trauma. So the constant mulling over of and things that we anticipating things that could go wrong is literally traumatizing us, putting us in a permanent state of fear that we then try to compensate for, right? We can't get rid of the thoughts, and so we try to suppress the feeling, or we have another margarita, right? Right? There's all sorts of different ways in which we distract ourselves. We pull ourselves, try to anesthetize ourselves in such a way. And of course, we have an infinite variety of things available just desiring to get our attention. Right? I mean, you can't look at the screen without something, do look on Facebook, Twitter, right? I mean, and all of those are the same thing, don't feel. That's the message. Don't feel, don't feel, don't feel, distract, 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 distract. So here's what you do. It's counterintuitive. You may not like me. The next time you feel that anxiety, turn all of your attention towards it. Can't run away anyway. Just go, turn right towards it. Start walking towards it internally, literally. You will feel all the resistance. I don't want to do that. I want to run away. How do I get away from it? And I don't. Turn towards it. Look, it may be anxiety, it may be unpleasant, but it's just your feelings. It's just a feeling in your own body. Do you want to run away from your own body? Well, many of us do. But that's why. We have been trained into this antagonistic relationship. We don't like the way they look. We don't like the things they do. We don't like the smells they make. We don't like anything about it. Right? If we did, the cosmetic industry would not be a $30 billion. Women, please start liking yourself. I'd love to see those fuckers crash. Sorry. Actually, I'm not. No, really, it's true, right? It survives on not liking yourself. Turn towards the feeling that you're running away from and watch what happens. It's astounding. Imagine somebody, a friend of yours, was in need. And they kept telling you they were in need, and you kept ignoring them, right? After a while, they just kind of go underground. They wouldn't bother, but they really needed your help. You're the only one who could help them. What would they do? They would start getting more annoying. You know, maybe throw rocks at your car or something, right? Because they need your help. In the meantime, you keep pushing them away, pushing them away, pushing them away. That voice of anxiety is something inside you that needs your attention. It isn't something to get rid of. It's a part of you that is dying. It's a part of you that needs your love. This is the crime of the alienation that we all suffered with ourselves. We made our feelings an enemy. A house divided against itself cannot stand. And that's exactly what's happened. And then everybody who comes along who promises you relief, they'll get your money, they'll get your body, they'll get your devotion, they'll get your vote. Because they promised you something that, of course, they cannot deliver. They're just promising you a better means of escape, and it never goes away. It can't go away. It's you. The drive to be free of all these anxieties by getting rid of the feelings is futile. It will never work. Yet, one time, turn towards it, and you watch it melt before your very eyes. Because that's what it wants. It needs attention. Imagine you're a little kid, just doing your little kid thing, right? Just being yourself, innocent, unpretentious, you know, full of life. But all of a sudden you do something so natural to you, it's just wonderful. Or you're even proud of it, right? And mommy or daddy just gets really upset. Oh, we can't be like that. Can't do things like that. We're not like that. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't even feel that way. Well, all of a sudden, your most natural inclination has become dangerous. You can't be yourself. So what happens? You have to take a part of you and you have to get rid of it. But can you get rid of it? How can you? You know, you can't get rid of the color of your eyes. You know, I can't all of a sudden get brown eyes. You know, I can't get black skin. I can't even get tan. It's you. But because you were dangerous, you disowned yourself. That's what happened. That's the whole of it. And since then, all of those energies which you can't get rid of are just simply have become these annoying little voices inside. Self-sabotage, negative self-talk, what we call negative emotions. They're not negative at all. They're your natural emotions that are dying to get out, dying to be free. I refer to them as angels in the basement. They want to be liberated. Behind every single emotion that you call negative is actually an aspect of your being, a power that you have that is unavailable to you, simply because you've disowned it, because you had to. That's the important part. You're not to blame. You had to disown it. If you didn't, you would have died. That's a literal truth. You would have died. There had to be some kind of a mechanism for the nervous system to be able to handle the enormous energy that wants to express itself, gets slammed. You can't run from it and you cannot fight it. It's your parents, they're gods, right? There's only one thing you can do, stuff it. That's trauma.
I was going to ask if you could give an example. You say move toward it, and I think people get hung up on that. Could you give an example of how?
Sure. You just asked for an example of moving towards it. Well, take any sensation you have in your body right now. Take any sensation you have in your body right now, especially if it's uncomfortable, right? And if it's uncomfortable, notice the natural impulse to want to pull your attention away from it. Right? It's really simple. Right now, do it yourself. Anything you have right now. And if not, just think of the last thing that caused you anxiety. Just bring it to mind. Yeah, I don't have a problem with triggering. In fact, I do it a lot. Right? And there it is. And just notice you don't want to be there. There's a resistance. I don't want to feel this. Right? Good. Turn towards it. It's that simple. Keep bringing your attention back. And you'll see the inner conflict. It'll become so self-evident. You go, oh my God, this has been going on the whole time? Yep. Except most of the time, distraction wins. And you do manage to suppress it enough that you can function. But have you ever tried to hold a beach ball underwater? Can you do much else? You're holding it. You're completely, that's all of the energy is going to suppressing all these things. Think of all the creative, powerful, energetic energy that is available to you that right now is holding beach balls underwater. My God, do you have any idea how much energy is available to you? People like to say, God, if I just get rid of this, I need more energy. You have all the energy you need. Except the problem is, all of your energy is being deployed, suppressing rather than expressing. The very same energy that right now you think is a problem that you're trying to get rid of is the energy of creation that you're looking for. It's the same energy. But energy does not care what it does. It doesn't. Make a mess, make a beautiful work of art. It doesn't care. It really doesn't, you know. It has no preferences. It's completely and totally neutral. It's a Buddha. So were you able to do it? Were you able to find something inside and just turn to it? That's how you do it. And what happened when you did it?
It just didn't seem powerful.
Yeah, of course. Because it isn't. The mind says, oh, this is really terrible. Stay away. But it's just the mind. And you turn towards it and go, no, it's not. It's just a feeling. But we run scared from it. Why? Because we believe that story. That I'm going, you don't want to feel, don't want to feel that. But that's your mind. It says, and the mind says, you're really going to be overwhelmed. It's like, okay, overwhelming. All right. And then put it to the test. I love this quote from Wu Xin. He was like 14th century Chinese philosopher. He said, if the village idiot calls you stupid, do you believe him? Why do you listen to your mind? And we believe all of these thoughts that we have in our minds. And okay, I got another one here. I'm hanging out, guys. I'm going to get to your questions. Don't worry about it. I'm definitely going to get to all the questions. I'm not, even when these guys are done, I'm out eating popcorn. I'll keep going. Because we do have popcorn and a lot of it. So if you got it, I'll eat a lot of popcorn. Does it matter if we have the intention to succeed? If that wasn't our chosen path, can we change our path? Or has this been talked about? Tracy? Oh, okay, sorry.
Could you repeat that?
I will. And for our friends at home, our studio audience and our friends at home, does it matter if we have the intention to succeed if that wasn't our chosen path? Can we change our path? You've changed your path how many times in your life? So the answer to the second question is kind of self-evident. I have. I was going to be a rock star. Really. I mean, I weighed 112 pounds. My hair was out to here, and I was a rock and roll drummer. Now I just tap on that thing, right? So, yes, you can change your path. What I sense behind here is there kind of like a destiny? Is there something predestined that I'm going to go down? The answer is yes and no. You can't deny your own nature, right? I am the way I am, right? I'm not going to be a power forward in the NBA. No matter how hard I try, no matter how much I choose that path, it is not going to happen, period, right? Every one of us came into this life. We have a certain disposition, certain preferences, certain gender, certain height, all sorts of things. We have all sorts of attributes, right? Success means I fully express those attributes. I don't inhibit it. Now, most of this takes time to get to that point because we all have to go through, the battlefield of childhood. Right? But there is, in every single one of us, a unique signature. There's something extremely unique about every individual that needed to appear in this place at this time. That's a fact. And you are doing it whether you know it or not. See, we think of this great path, my destiny, is this great thing that I'm going to achieve at some point, and then I'm going to know, there it is, I'm on my path. You're on it right now. It's already happening. The real thing about spirituality is a harmonizing with what is, not a developing something else. And in that harmony, you release all of the energy that has been inhibiting you, and you begin to consciously experience what has actually been going on the whole time, which is you being you. Are you not you now? Of course not. And after this is done and you go on to the next thing, whatever, are you going to be you there? Yeah, that's right. Yes, that is absolutely correct. You're going to be showing up in that moment in the way that you do. And that moment is going to require certain kind of characteristics come out of you, like right now, I'm guy up front talking. Other times I'm just sitting there listening, Other times I'm just kind of playing the drum. Other times I'm standing in line at the DMV, right? So every single one of those is always me, but not every aspect of me is needed in every single moment, right? And so every moment kind of calls forth out of us whatever that moment needs. And you're absolutely right. You don't know what that's going to be until it's there. Who are you? Nobody in particular. That's really the only way I can answer it, right? Because I'm this way now. I'll be a different way in a couple hours. I'll be a different way a couple hours after that. So which one is actually me? Well, none of them. Just like that's not actually red. Okay? None of them and all of them. So the real key from a spiritual perspective is harmonizing with your own true nature, your own true uniqueness. And then you see that the path is everywhere. Everything you're doing is your path. And of course, who doesn't want to choose to be themselves? Who else are you going to be? Right? Not liking ourselves, wanting to be somebody else is where all of our emotional problems come from. I'm not content with me, I really want to be somebody else. Well, good luck. Right? So it's a harmonization with yourself. That's actually what the path is. And to me, if there's an overarching path, if there's an overarching purpose to life, it is to discover who you actually are. And everything in life lines up for that. Everything you've ever experienced in your life, whether it be absolutely blissful, ceiling fun, or totally miserable and difficult and grievous, the purpose of it has been to bring you to yourself.
So when you die, you discovered who
The question was, when you die, you just go, shit, I got to do it again? Is that the thing?
Does that mean that you have discovered who you were?
When you die, no. If you have not discovered who you are when you die, who you think you are, that tendency to want for self-discovery is still going to be there. And it will eventually produce another life. And it will color the experience in between lives. So you'll experience it from the point of view of someone who wants to be someone. What happens after you die, if I can be so presumptuous as to say, and I have got some of the nastiest comments I've gotten on YouTube have been from, who are you? I think the term used was fucking idiot. Yeah, I think that was that was the actual phrase that was applied to me. The first thing that you realize when the body falls away is that you're not dead, that something has remained, but you don't have a body. This life, in all of its details, becomes like a dream. It's kind of a memory, and little by little it begins to fade. The specifics fade, but there are levels of energetic impact in our life that actually continue. Buddha referred to that as the repository consciousness. It is a place where the deepest unresolved issues as to who you are actually get stored. Our deepest traumas, our deepest vows. It will penetrate in any given life. It can happen. It can be a miserable death. It can be a miserable birth. I've actually worked with people that we've released the energy from a past life where they were burned at the stake. She even started talking in an accent as the entire thing was beginning to unfold. But that energy was still being stored, but not in the body. We have to realize this body is but a reflection of something much more subtle. I call it the energy. You can call it the energy body. Buddha referred to it as this repository consciousness. It is that which gives rise to everything else. So in between that time, and they actually in the Tibetan Book of the Dead they talk about the bardo, and in the Tibetan tradition, when somebody dies, the monk stays with the dead body, continuing to discuss with them the bardo. Okay, this is day 3. You are now experiencing this. Actually talking to the bardo, attempting to help guide them through this period of time, because in this period of time, there is the opportunity to wake up fully to who you are. But there comes a point at which we miss the body. We miss having something concrete to hold on to. We don't like being formless consciousness, right? And so this desire to incarnate again gets bigger and bigger, and finally the walls start coming in, we start feel like we're falling, and the next thing we know it's and the whole process starts over again. Okay? And so to be in a position where you actually get to hear spoken what I'm telling you is one of the most significant things a human being can experience. Because in Buddhism they refer to it as the Dharma. And very few people hear it, even less listen to it, and even less actually follow it. Because we're so used to thinking this body is who we are. Right? That's what happened. Our sense of consciousness, when you're little, you don't have a sense of a body. I just, about a week ago, about a week ago, heard my granddaughter use the word I for the first time. She's 2 years old. It was always Uggy, Uggy. Uggy what, right? Third person. And that's not just a cute little thing that kids do. It's a result of the fact that they are not identified with their body. They're experiencing undifferentiated consciousness. This, that, it's all me. They don't have a solidified sense of self yet. When the sense of self begins to solidify, which is the egoic mind, because it needs, remember, the mind needs objects, things to compare. It needs a point of reference. And so it latches onto the body, says, I am this body. The moment that happens, the experiences of the body become my experiences. The limits of the body become my limits. The destiny of the body becomes my destiny. The eventual death of the body becomes my death. But it's all happening because of the distorted sense of consciousness. In fact, you're not your body. You are formless. You have no form. When you think I, you immediately think of your form, don't you? Matter of fact, I say picture yourself, right? The picture you have of yourself, well, me is like, with a Chippendale body, and I'm 6 feet tall and Italian. But that's just me. What is it? You see a picture of yourself. It's probably about 5 feet away, right? Like you'd see on a YouTube video or a picture or something like that. You could do a close-up of yourself, right? Now, isn't it interesting that when I say picture yourself, you have a picture of yourself, but it's a picture of yourself you've never actually seen. It's a photograph. It's a camera's perspective. It's somebody else's perspective. It's the mirror's perspective. You've never seen your self-image. And yet you are convinced that's who you are. Isn't that interesting? How I look, this is how I look. So pick yourself, 10 feet away, 5 feet away. Now let's do the, Zoom, putting your makeup on in the morning, right? Up this close. Keep going. What do you look like from a distance of 0? There's nothing there, right? And yet you are. This is such a mind blower, and it's so much fun. Yeah. You are not your body. Then what are you? Formless, infinite, boundless, limitless consciousness. You have, because you identified with your body, you've taken infinite consciousness and you have imagined that it is bounded, that it is limited, that it is stuck. And say, oh God, I'm really stuck. I am. The I that is stuck is the image, not you. Because notice that every time you use the word I, this is an exercise. Do this. Remind yourself to do this. When you catch yourself using the word I, which we probably use about 20,000 times a day, stop for a second and go, what am I referring? What is this I actually referring to? Right? If I say shirt, I can point to the shirt, and everybody knows, I'm referring to a shirt. I can point to my foot. You can point your foot. You go, my foot. You know what you're pointing to. Okay. You, I, point to that. What are you referring to? And you go, oh, my body. Well, that's just the way it looks from somebody else's point of view. What do you look like from here? Can you see yourself? Can your eyes see themselves? Your eyes have never seen your eyes. The sharpest knife that can cut anything cannot cut itself. You, the ultimate perceiver, cannot perceive yourself. You cannot know yourself as a thought, because every thought is some kind of objectification of it, right? The moment I say, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I have just put a boundary around consciousness. Those of you who believe in reincarnation, you know perfectly well that you don't always come back as the same gender. Right? If that's the case, looking at the whole picture and not just one lifetime, are you male or female? Consciousness is obviously neither, or both. It depends on the moment, right? I like to use the example of water. What's the shape of water? Whatever you put it in, right? If consciousness is in a dog body, it will be a dog. It will have dog experiences, dog thoughts, whatever the hell those are. Squirrel. Shoo. Put in a female body, it will have female experiences, right? It's the means of experience, but that doesn't mean you, the one having the experience, is actually male or female. You're sitting in a movie theater. The screen can show 1 million different movies. Every one of those will be a different experience, won't it? But the screen isn't changed. The screen isn't affected by it. Who you are is pure consciousness. Formless consciousness. Think about that. You have no limits. Every limit you have is because you've identified with your body, taken on the limits of the body to be your limits. You have no limits. Now, I know what all of your minds are doing. They're going, oh, but I'm living over here. What about over here? What about... Just throwing all the pictures of all the different kinds of limits. But that's based on the mind is assumed that you are this body. And so everything that it's thinking, everything it's throwing at you is coming from that assumption. That assumption is wrong. The mind is the village idiot. I got to get somebody. Oh God, they're really piling up. So let's see. A close friend, Infinity Coaching. A close friend has just discovered genealogical cleansing or something, and thinks it's the latest, greatest answer to finally being happy. Next week, it will probably be something else. Well, it may take longer than a week. I mean, some of these things can hang out for months before they finally go, oh, next retreat, next book, next guru. I want to help people go beyond all and every funky technique to a deeper truth. Any tips? Maybe I should put a plug to take my certified facilitator training. I bring up the Pepsi, the Coke, for the product placement. I need to get a coffee mug with, become a facilitator. So they always put it on the side if you're right-handed and I'm left-handed. Sucks. Anyway, first off, I can give you some tips. When you are, and it really has to do with whenever you want to share anything with anyone, in any discipline, you are going to be speaking to people's perspective, their prejudice. You always, if you're going to be a good coach, a good teacher, you have to learn how to meet people where they are and be able to speak to them where they are. You have to go down there, get in the mud with them, and come back out again. Matter of fact, one of the, in Buddhism, the hero of Buddhism is the Bodhisattva, which is the one who just keeps coming back lifetime after lifetime to help all beings become free from suffering. And one of the vows, one of the things the Bodhisattva has to overcome is the I forgot what word they use, but it's being ridiculed for getting down in the muck with everyone. And there's Buddha sitting up on your chair, and so the Bodhisattva is down in the dirt. He's out hanging out. Christ was a beautiful example of that. He was always accused. What are you doing, hanging out with the drunks and the prostitutes? Well, the sick need a physician, not the well. So become really adept at entering in to the perspective that somebody has and speak to them from that point of view. Those of you who have ever experienced me doing EFT or even inner reconciliation, you know that I speak as if what the person believes to be true is really true, even though I know it isn't. Because if you fight with them, you lose. It's really pretty simple, and I don't. Of course, I picked a lot that I didn't think I was going to lose, but that's another story. That's another story. You know, if I know I'm going to lose, I don't bother with it. So you're absolutely right. I refer to it as the self-help treadmill. There's a million new programs coming up all the time. This is the one that's going to be it all. This is the secret behind the secret. This is the 10 other secrets that the secret didn't tell you about. And this is the secret that unlocks those secrets, right? It's like, it's endless. The thing to perceive, and the thing that I think will help you become really adept at dealing with this with other people, is that it is endless. The mind is never satisfied. Oh, I guess I should, but I people sitting here, oh, this is hard. The mind is never ever satisfied. You know, you can go, I'm totally confident, and it'll be like, well, almost. You know, the mind will let you go 98% sure, but it'll never yield up the whole 100%. It can't, because our mental processes are not consistent. You know, anybody ever had two conflicting thoughts at the same time? I rest my case. No, you never had two thoughts conflict?
Well, back and forth, but not.
Right, no, you can't have two thoughts at exactly the same time. But yeah, the ping-ponging going back and forth. Yeah, right. No matter how far you get, there's always going to be something else. Some techniques do work for people for a while. No technique will work all the time. None of the people I know in the law of attraction community and personal development like it when I say that. There is no such thing as the ultimate technique. Even Buddha, who in my opinion was the greatest teacher of all time, said, my teachings are temporary. All dharmas, all teachings are empty of absolute truth. They are what's needed in the moment. So, somebody like your friend, you have to discern whether or not they actually want to find the truth, or if they're content with the entertainment of self-help. Because it is entertainment, you know. For a lot of people, you know, they don't want to watch the news and stuff like that, so they go to events and they're always reading a book. And I know people like that. I have a friend of mine who wanted to be my student. I said, okay, you've got to go 3 months and not read another book. He's not my student, clearly. Because that's all he did, right? It was always the next book he was reading and the next book he was reading. Oh, I got this, and this is really good, and I'm going to do all of this sort of stuff. He was basically kind of addicted to the process, to the treadmill. So discern whether or not they've actually gotten to the point of what's the word, disillusionment, right? Find out if they've suffered enough to be willing to listen to something other than yet another pitch for another program. In which case, you can begin to explore with them what they're actually feeling. Remember, anybody who's seeking some kind of an answer like that is trying to get away from their feelings. This is what makes inner reconciliation and genuine spirituality so different, because it doesn't let you do that. It stops you and goes, no, turn around. Come on back, turn around. There is no get out of jail free card. Everybody has to go through the process of having a direct experience of their own feelings. When that happens, and you feel the extraordinary relief, that attraction towards yet another program will actually diminish. Does that answer your question? Infinity coaching? Here's Teresa from London, my first time live. My question is, why do I keep hitting my head against a wall and stubbornly refuse to admit the truth? I hope you're not doing it literally. Ouch. But obviously, it's figuratively. The mind stubbornly refuses to recognize the truth. The mind is resistance, right? It's not something that resists. It is resistant thoughts, resistant actions. It is trying to resist what is. So when the mind is hitting itself against the head against the wall, the mind is saying, why am I hitting myself, my head against the wall? And you've identified with those thoughts. You've taken the word I that is being spoken of by the mind, identified with the body, and you think it's you. I love to use the example. I need to give my robot example here, right? Imagine a robot so sophisticated, so well done, that you could not tell them from a human being. You'd have interaction with them, they would react as if they were real, right? You know, or even a doll or anything, or even a dog, right? You would think that they were actually real beings that you were talking to, and yet there's nothing there. There's nothing actually hearing you. There's nothing really responding to you. There's no sentience. It's all very, very sophisticated programmed responses. Your nervous system is an organic robot. That's all it is. There's nobody there. The mind is not real. It is not sentient. It is not, there's nobody actually home. There's nobody hearing you. All hearing, all sensing, all seeing is you, consciousness, projected upon the body. So when the mind says, why am I hitting my head up against the wall? I say, you're not. Now put that thought aside, why am I hitting my against the wall? And put your attention on the feeling of frustrated desire. Because that's the only thing that would make you want to hit your head against the wall. You're reaching for something and you can't get it. Right? Turn your attention towards that which is wanting to reach. That's where the real gold is. That's where you're going to find the place that is truly in distress. We all have desires, and when a desire arises, it runs into our conditioned responses, our habitual beliefs as to whether or not I'm good enough to get the desire, I'm pretty or smart or creative enough, it's okay to have the desire, is it moral to have that desire? Every desire, which is just coming from life itself, nobody's desires are personal, right? Nobody claims as if that hunger is your desire, right? It's universal. Everybody has it. Everybody has that same. Everybody has desires. The beauty of life is that in human being, desire can actually take an individual form, so it becomes very, very unique and very, very expressive. But it's naturally growing out of life. So when the desire arises, if there was no conditioning, it would be like a little kid. Oh, great, and you just reach for the shiny object, no problem. But because of all of the trauma and conditioning, all the stuff that's laid on top, the desire runs in, and something inside of it just goes, whoa, and tries to step on it. So now, here you've got desire, which is perfectly natural, just coming. I mean, you cannot stop it. Anybody here be able to stop desire? Not so far, right? And you've got all this conditioned responses that has all this story and narrative and denial of desire sitting on top of it, right? And then, because this is in a stalemate, these guys are fighting with each other. Part of you is wanting to reach for the shiny object. Part of you wants more freedom. And then the other part of you is holding it down. And then you start saying things like, beating my head against a wall, I keep doing the same thing over and over again. But you're not seeing that this is what's actually happening. Right? This part, the resistant part, is what needs to be dropped so that you can just experience this directly. And it's not easy because we've all been taught that these desires are bad, they're sinful, right? I mean, we've got entire religions that are completely devoted to suppressing this stuff and making you horrible for even having the thought of it. I remember being told all the time as a kid, you shouldn't feel that. I do feel that. I shouldn't feel that. I don't feel. I mean, can you see the schizophrenia that creates in us? It's insane. But that's what happens. These things have been characterized. So the end result is you end up feeling like you're beating your head against the wall. What you're doing, what you're experiencing is the lack of reconciliation between these two energies. And that's why you want to beat your head against the wall, because how the hell do you get rid of this? Well, beating your head against the wall will not give you anything but a headache. It will not help. Stopping beating your head against the wall as an act of discipline will not solve the problem. Only turning all of your heart attention to here will actually begin to resolve it. All of the events that took place that put the resistant conditioning in place have to be embraced, and the desire has to be liberated. And the interesting thing is that when you liberate the desire, you also don't feel a great deal of attachment to it. You don't suffer for it. You don't define your life as to whether you get it or not. You've liberated it. If it fulfills itself, wonderful. If it doesn't, wonderful. You remain as you are. You remain free. That's, I'm sure you've all heard religious teachings and spiritual teachings about overcoming desire, right? That's really what it means. It's not that you get rid of desire, it's that you set it free. It is no longer an issue for you whether you get it or not. Now you're free. You can't stop it. I mean, if desire stopped, life is done in about 3 days. Really, everything just stops. The only reason any of us are here is because our parents had desire. However momentary, however irregular that might have been, and however much alcohol might have been involved. Nonetheless, were it not for that, none of us would be here. We wouldn't do anything. Everything is driven by desire. So this idea that somehow you have to get over desire is absurd. And that isn't in fact at all, especially what Buddha said. It was the detachment from the desire. It was the desirer. It's the one who felt as if their happiness depended upon getting it or not. That's the illusion. It doesn't have the happiness. Any more than that cushion has red. You have the happiness. Does that answer your question, Teresa? Hope so. Are all the voices in your mind gone? Well, if they were, I wouldn't be able to say much to you, would I, Red Pat? No, they're not. I just don't pay attention to them anymore. Right? So there are periods of time where they're absolutely quiet, and they've nothing to say. And it's actually very easy to bring somebody to that point where the mind is quiet in meditation and in allowing. But is it going to be silent forever? No. And I don't want it to be. Spiritual attainment is not about having circumstances the way you want them. It's about being completely free and content no matter what the circumstances are. Now you're free. Otherwise, you'll spend your entire life trying to control circumstances. I mean, how many people come to me who've been trying to practice meditation for 10 years, say, I can't stop my mind. Well, who told you were supposed to? Yeah, right, exactly. And who is it that wants to stop the mind? The mind. The thought, I want to stop the mind. What is that? The mind. You don't have to. You simply lose interest. Do you have to make yourself stop watching a TV show if it's boring? Only if it gets your interest do you keep watching. If you have no interest, you turn it off. It's simple as that. When you turn it off, when you realize that what the mind says is almost totally repetitive, uninteresting, boring, and self-deprecating, you start going, I think I'm going to stop paying attention to the village idiot. I think I'm going to stop watching political debates. Village idiot, political, same thing. Does that answer your question there, Red Pat? Shanika from London. I meet a lot of people with different attitudes, such as race, religion, color, rich, poor. Sometimes it's a pain to face them every day. How can I still accept them without any emotions or reactions? You have to understand them. You have to understand who you're actually dealing with, right? Now, what is it in you that has an issue with somebody's race or religion, or, you know, somebody has a particular point of view of their particular culture? What's the problem? I mean, really, I'm not trying to be flippant about that. What is the problem? What is it in you that feels it should be different than it is? Are they any different from you? I mean, you were programmed in a particular cultural pattern. All of us were. I am. I don't speak Swahili. I speak English with an American accent. Why is that? Conditioning. That's my culture. That's where I came from. Now, if I believe that that's the way it should be, right, now I'm stuck. Now I'm lost. Now I've become a patriot or nationalistic or fundamentalist or something like that. Right? Now I've lost the ability to realize that these are just phenomena. They're just temporary. They're transient. None of them are the absolute truth. So first off, why is it a pain to face them? That pain is yours, not theirs. I don't care. I don't even care if they're the biggest assholes in the entire world and are just lording it over you. No one can make you feel anything except you. You have a certain association with that, a relationship you've created with whatever they're presenting that is creating that in you. Turn towards that pain. Turn towards that pain and see what happens. I'm not going to get to all of these. It just actually skipped ahead and now just like there's like half again as much. Yeah.
You keep saying turn towards it, turn towards it. Well, how are you supposed to see if you don't know what it is?
It's a feeling.
So if you're terrified of something, are you supposed to go, okay, when did that person become terrified?
No.
Or are you just supposed to go, okay, where's the terror? There's got to be something. How are you supposed to find something?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. I just got a question about. I say turn towards it. Where are you supposed to find it? When I say turn towards it, I'm not. Don't turn towards what you're afraid of. Turn towards the feeling of fear itself. We don't have to identify what it's afraid of. Oftentimes, what we think it's afraid of and what it's actually afraid of are two different things. The reaction. Remember. What we are aware of consciously is just a fraction of what the nervous system is aware of. According to the studies that I've seen, the human nervous system receives about 60 billion bits of information a second. It is a constant flow of information. The cognitive part of us, the part of us that's actually discussing, the part of us that actually recognizes something and can discriminate and choose what to do, 60 bits a second. So what the hell's happening to all the rest of that? All the rest of that is being processed, sorted, categorized, and reacted to, and you're not even seeing it. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, when I was in Miami, not important to this story actually, and I was lost in thought about something, and I'm walking along, and all of a sudden, I become aware of the fact that I'm literally flying backwards, and I land on my ass on the sidewalk. I then became aware of the fact that I had just stepped in front of a bus, and my nervous system actually had me back on the sidewalk on my ass before I cognized it. Thank God for the nervous system, because if it left it up to me, whoa, gee, you think we're going to get out something? Splat. It didn't have time to engage me in some kind of conscious choice for a better life. It just flattened me. Whoa! I mean, that close to, you know, this little event here not happening. Right? Thank God this is happening. There's a level of intelligence processing. Now, but it's also processing according to conditioning, I mean, this is all the stuff that's going on. So when there's a fear there, we think we know what the fear is about. And so when I say turn towards it, you might think turn towards the source of your fear. You don't know what it is. Turn towards the feeling itself. You can ask yourself, where in my body am I feeling it? Because fear is not just thought, it's a physical sensation. And you will feel it. You'll feel it here, you'll feel it down here, you'll feel it in your skin, you'll feel it in your throat, and just notice where it is. Oftentimes those are a clue as to what it is you're actually afraid, as to what it's afraid of. But at this point, in the way I practice energy healing and inner reconciliation, I don't even try to figure it out. I go directly to the sensation of the fear in the body itself, and I ask it, what are you protecting me from? Because it knows, I don't. So I'm literally engaging this intelligent energy, the same one that got me out of the way of the boss, in a conversation. And I find that it actually answers. It'll tell me. Happens all the time. Suddenly you get a picture of something. I'm getting the official sign. We have 3 minutes to close this down. No, the voices in my mind are not gone. I just don't care. Blah, blah, blah. Humans actually group species. Nah, no big deal. Basic biology. Okay. This is speed satsang, right? You compare. I'm not. You're cute. You're not. Go. Satsang.com. Yeah, it's taken. All right, it's time for me to bring this to a close. I've gotten the official warning, the official 2-minute warning from the ref. As always, YouTubers, thank you for being here. And from all over the world. I am going to be trying to do this more, as often as I possibly can. I will do one somewhere every week if I can. Plus I'm also willing to do them for like meetup groups and stuff, where I can't, maybe not big enough for me to actually travel, or maybe too far, to go to Israel or something. But I am more than willing to get on Skype and do a live satsang with people. I actually will be doing that with a group in in Australia, the 18th, I think, right? Yeah, we'll be doing one, and then I'll be doing this one because it'll be at a different time. So, obviously I'm on YouTube every week. I would just want, yeah, I want to be doing the live. So by all means, if you guys want to help bring me to your city, I'm more than willing to try to figure out how we can do that. Also, a little reminder, it's cost me money to do. Patreon.com/GP Walsh if you'd like to help out. Even a buck a month makes a huge difference in all the expenses. I think I broke even on my trip here to Las Vegas, which is fine. If I break even, I'm and maybe you get an extra meal out of it. Pizza and a beer, I'm good. So thank you all once again for being here and participating in all your great questions. And we'll see you all next week. And you guys don't leave yet because I'm not done with you. I just got to figure out how it is that I stop this thing. Share. What share? Oh, there it is.